All right, with all of that being said about where we're at today, I would like to bring on Mr. Kelly Goetsch, the Chief Strategy Officer of Commerce Tools and AI enthusiast. He's going to help us really set the stage for what merchants should be thinking about today as it pertains to AI in commerce. Kelly, can you hear me all right?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Awesome. I'm glad I wasn't on mute that whole time. That would have been terrible.
It's funny you introduced me as an AI enthusiast. I think I'm going to have to use that as my LinkedIn byline.
I think we all are. I think I could have given you a even stronger. I think you're an AI protagonist, perhaps, since you are obviously pushing AI forward at Commerce Tools and watching your merchants do the same. So it's a little bit more than just the bystander, right?
I'm also a pragmatist at heart, and it kind of kills me to see all of the vapid hype about AI out there. So I'm going to ground it a little bit in this presentation. I think innovations like Pippin are a really good example of pragmatic AI usage. But yeah, anyway, guess I'm ready to go when you are.
Perfect. Can you share your screen? I'm not seeing it yet.
Yes.
Oh, here we go. Oh, just 1 second.
Help if I actually shared it, huh? All right.
Yeah, no problem. And then when you go full screen, I will bring you on stage. All right, I'll be backstage. I'll let you run with it.
All right. There we go. All good?
Perfect.
All right. I will be setting the stage here for AI in commerce. Thanks for having me. As Derek mentioned, I am Chief Strategy Officer at Commerce Tools, which is leading enterprise commerce platform. And we serve many of the very large brands out there in their e-commerce needs. And specifically, I'm responsible for AI. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about how I see AI and commerce. All right, so first and foremost, I really think AI is this generation's transformational technology. So every 10 years, roughly, there's something that really changes the world. And internet obviously changed the world in a very big way in the early to mid 90s. Social media, mobile, cloud, and now I think we're finally in the era of generative AI. And with all of these technologies, there were decades of work before the technologies actually hit mainstream. We had Blackberry devices. I had my Blackberry. I was very close with it for a very long time. But it wasn't until the iPhone came out that things really changed. Cloud, social. We had early social media back in the late 90s with AIM Instant Messenger. And if you're all old enough to remember that. And generative AI is built on decades of research. So we have transformers, we have attention, which is how data is processed behind the scenes, and it's basically a neural network that's created. We've had machine learning, which is, I would argue, pattern matching. But it was really with the release of ChatGPT in November of 22 that things really changed. So everything I'm saying here is mostly within the context of the past 2 years. And I think it's really interesting with any one of these technologies, after enough time passes, it ceases to become a differentiator. It's just something that you do, right? It's not like you ask a brand anymore if you're a consultant, are you mobile ready, right? You just expect it to be mobile ready. Are you cloud ready? And any application built in the past 10 years is just by default built on the cloud for the cloud these days. So we're really seeing a sea shift now, and generative AI feels very much like the web in 94, 95, 96, where it's a huge transformational technology. People are just starting to adopt it. But I think as an industry, we're trying to figure out, what do you do with it, right? What's the value? Where are the use cases? So I think it's a fascinating time to be alive. And I think the next couple decades are really going to change AI is going to change our society pretty fundamentally. So I also want to call out the fact that AI is changing exponentially. So AI is being used to further enable AI. It's this recursive thing that's making it better, faster, cheaper. And as evidence of that, look at the context window size, which is basically how much you can remember, how much your LLM can remember in a prompt. So if you want to feed in a book of text and then ask a question about that text, you couldn't do that even a year ago. And we've now gone from 2,000 tokens to now 200,000. And Google and ChatGPT both now claim to have infinite context windows. I haven't seen it yet, but just to give you an idea, in 18 months, basically, we now have infinite context windows, which is pretty impressive. Cost has dramatically been reduced. So it used to cost $180 to process a million tokens. We're now down to 75 cents, right? Huge explosion there in cost efficiency. And some of that's hardware and some of that's software. So it's a good combination of those two. And we'll see the cost decrease even further over time. And then finally, the number of applications has just exploded these days. So Andreessen Horowitz, which is a venture capitalist, they put out this semi-annual survey of the top most used AI applications. And just last week, they put out their August list. And of the 50 consumer websites that use AI, that are AI focused, 30 of those 50 are brand new in the past 6 months alone. So again, this feels very much like early days of the internet. This is really going to change and reshape society in a big way. So big changes here. And AI fundamentally changes how brands operate. So on the left, this is from Mock Alliance member Content Stack. They have a voice profile that you can set up, right? Their content management system. And using the slider here, you can very easily adjust the tone of voice, the humor, the complexity, really have it match your brand and your style. And then on the right, this is something that an engineer from Commerce Tools did. He used, it's Claude 3.5, which is built by Anthropic. And he built an entire e-commerce experience using Commerce Tools in 18 minutes flat. And he gave it a list of functionality that he wanted implemented. He gave it a token. He gave it the API list and gave it the source of the data and the look and feel, and basically said, go. And over the course of 18 minutes, it builds an entire experience. It's remarkable. And this is here today, right? Anybody can pick this up off the shelf today and do that. And historically, anytime something that used to be really expensive becomes cheap, it dramatically increases demand for that once scarce resource. So think of oil and gasoline, right? It allowed houses across the world to be electrified. Think of electricity itself. Think of internet bandwidth. Think of compute power. And now digital experiences. If they used to be expensive, now they're not expensive to create anymore. It increases the demand for those things. You could make the same argument about commerce platforms. Historically, commerce platforms were very, very expensive to implement. Only a few brands did, traditional mall retailers. And now what we're seeing is everybody has the need for a commerce platform now that they've become much more approachable and easier to implement. You can also, as a brand, very quickly and easily better define attributes for your products. So maybe it's a beachwear flag equals true, or casual wear equals false. You can enrich these products very quickly. You're also able to, if you'd like, create actual 3D tutorials, brand experiences, shop the look on a fashion runway model. You can do how to assemble videos. You can do unboxing videos. Any type of rich media. AI allows you to automatically create those things to the point where you could build entire microsites around a specific product in minutes, right? It becomes much, much, much easier to do. And Mark and Amanda in our panel are going to be talking about this in more detail. So I'll turn it over to them when I'm done here. Another challenge, and this is a good thing and a bad thing, is anyone can create a brand. And if you look at this prompt I gave GPT-4o last night, I'm an entrepreneur. I'd like to create a new brand for men that's lumberjack themed, but also classy. Think Paul Bunyan meets James Bond. Kind of a random combination, but I did that on purpose, right? Please create a name, brand, logo, brand identity, and an image. And you can see how quickly and easily ChatGPT did this for me. And any of the major LLMs can do this today. It's not a concern. But it did what historically you would have had to have hired a branding agency, marketing agency, design firm. This would have been a lot of work before. And what this is now doing is allowing anyone to create brands, and especially with drop shipping, becomes much easier just to drop ship from somewhere else. So there are a lot more brands, but it also counterintuitively makes brands much more valued as well. the Nikes, the Lululemons, the Sephoras, those with really strong brands out there have an even better advantage, because when there's so many brands out there, it becomes really hard to figure out which is a legitimate brand, which is authentic. So going forward, we're going to see big trusted brands be more authentic. Folks are going to be spending more time building their brands. Brands are really going to be the currency, as opposed to just creating anything from scratch. So it's a different paradigm, but one that I'm personally really excited about. And I guess we'll let the war of ideas win out, and the best brands are going to rise to the top and survive. But I think it's going to be a really big change out there for the existing establishment legacy brands that are now being challenged by all these upstarts. And AI is also changing how consumers shop fundamentally. So right now, I think we would all admit that our voice assistants out there are not very good. So I was on HBO Max last night, and there are a couple profiles that pop up. There's the family profile, my wife's profile, my profile, and then my oldest daughter has a profile, and her name was selected. And I was working out, and I used my voice. I said, select Kelly as the profile, because I don't want to get up, grab the remote, hit one over, and then hit select. And it started playing Kelly Clarkson for me. Right. I would think we would all agree that this series and the Google voices are not very good right now. But it's not very distant. I think Apple's going to be announcing Siri integration with ChatGPT here this fall. Those voice assistants are going to be actually AI enabled. And those voice assistants have access to what you've bought, who you are, pictures of you, so it can analyze for fit and style, any type of travel you have. If you suddenly get a lot of money in your bank account, it would know that. Right? These assistants know everything about you, and they are in a much better place to make recommendations versus going to a random.com with a fresh browser and having it try to guess at what you would actually like. So imagine having your voice assistants actually doing that for you. And that's the world that we're heading to very quickly. You can also pull up Bing Shopping Copilot, which is remarkable. And you can say, I need, running shoes. Does Lululemon sell them, for example? Tell me more. And it'll walk you through how to do that. Google has a good shopping app that you can use. You can use style recommendations and train the model over time, what you like, what you don't like. TikTok Shops, very obviously important as well. That's actual AI at scale, and it's helping you find what you want. And then finally, I think good old ChatGPT, if you upload a picture, you can say, what is this? Right? I have these on my door, and 2 of them broke off. My dog chewed them. And I didn't know what these are called. It's a really hard challenge. And they're called Muntin clips or glazing clips. I would have had no idea. So I think we're going to see AI emerge as the head, as how you shop. It's how you do it, as opposed to going to a hardware store website and then trying to browse through and find these things. Most purchases that we make are considered purchases. These are purchases that you need to think about. You're not just reordering toilet paper. You're not just reordering pasta, right? You're giving thought to it. It's apparel, it's electronics, it's something that's stylish. And these voice assistants, and generally the assistants out there, know you better than some random website. So I think this is really going to change how consumers shop, to the point where I think the traditional web is dying. I think the whole concept of going to Google and then searching for brand.com and then having a whole bunch of scammy search results pop up that are paid, I think that whole flow is going to get disrupted. And I think we'll see the emergence of the ChatGPTs basically become browsers. So think of going to a ChatGPT-like browser, and that's how you find things. Perplexity is very similar in that regard. AI will be the head. AI is how you are going to be able to find and search for information in the future. And that very much extends to shopping as well. So a lot of big changes out there for customer acquisition and how you interact with the world. Again, think of this as the web in '95. That's kind of the moment that we're in right now. And as final thoughts, I think looking ahead, merchants should prepare today for how to embrace AI in the near future. And there aren't a ton of immediate use cases. There are certainly some around customer service. You can enhance your on-site product search and discovery. You can enrich products, things like that. But the big changes are going to be in the next few years. And today, what you need to do is hire talent. So bring on those principal level AI architects. Select some technology that you want to use. Right? Are you going to use the whole Gemini stack, for example? You've got some options there. Do some pilot projects, get experience with AI, work through the data privacy and the data policies that you have internally. Make sure your InfoSec team understands how this all works, but really spend time building, experimenting, iterating. And when those big new apps do take hold, and those experiences need to be built, you are in a much better position to do that. Also invest in your brand. Your brand is the one thing that you have that differentiates you. And I think, again, it's kind of ironic that now anybody can create a brand, but that also counterintuitively makes brands much more valuable because brands then mean a lot more. So keep that in mind, and then really change how you think. This is a different world that we're in, and bring in some 20 somethings in a couple of years. Have them explain how they operate. I know my kids. I have a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old. My 10-year-old interacts with the world very differently than I do. She's all voice-based, right? She uses voice assistants all the time, as flawed as they are. And it's really important to bring that next generation of talent into your organization so they can teach you how they build, how they iterate, how they interact with the world, because that's who your shoppers are. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Derek, and we'll go on from there. Thank you all for your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelly. That was absolutely amazing. I really love the slide that shows it's mind-boggling to think it was $180 for 1,000,000 tokens. It's down to 75 cents. I don't even know if that follows the Moore's Law curve. It feels like it probably broke the curve and in how fast costs got reduced.
It did, because AI is being used to improve AI.
That is scary.